Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. I'm Dr. Chem, joining you straight from a state-of-the-art synchrotron materials characterization laboratory. Today, we're going to explore one of the absolutely most powerful, non-destructive tools in modern science. I want you to picture this for a second: a cinematic, microscopic visualization of advanced nanomaterials, intricate polymers, and complex biological macromolecules, like proteins, all suspended gracefully in solution. Suddenly, a brilliant, highly focused beam of X-rays illuminates them, scattering light to reveal their hidden internal architectures. That right there is the magic of small-angle X-ray scattering, or SAXS. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the nanoscale X-ray vision, SAXS instrumentation, decoding the scattering pattern, structural parameters, SAXS applications, and finally, advanced techniques. Let's get right into it. Starting with Section 1, the nanoscale X-ray vision, seeing the invisible. To really understand SAXS, we first need to look at the electromagnetic spectrum, specifically the X-ray region. Now, many of you are probably already familiar with conventional X-ray diffraction, or XRD, which is actually a type of wide-angle X-ray scattering. WAX uses wide angles, typically 10 to 50 degrees, to probe very small atomic crystal structures. SAXS, on the other hand, operates at incredibly small angles, usually between 0.1 and just 10 degrees. And because of the inverse relationship in scattering physics, these smaller angles actually let us investigate much larger nanoscale features, ranging anywhere from 1 to 100 nanometers. So what's the fundamental physics here? How do we actually see these particles? Well, it relies entirely on X-ray contrast. When our X-ray beam passes through a sample, most of it travels straight through, untouched. But a tiny, tiny fraction scatters. Why does it do that? It all comes down to the differences in electron density between the particles and the surrounding solvent. The scattering from the pure solvent background has to be carefully subtracted from our data. And what we're left with is the scattering from our target particles, generated precisely by the interfaces where the electron density of the particle differs from the medium. Moving right along to Section 2, SAXS instrumentation and setup inside the synchrotron. Let's look at a state-of-the-art experimental setup, specifically the BioSAXS instrument over at the Stanford Synchrotron Radiation Light Source. In this kind of setup, a highly collimated incident beam from the synchrotron strikes the sample. The scattered X-rays then travel through a vacuum flight tube, which can be anywhere from 0.2 to 3.5 meters long. That vacuum is absolutely crucial, by the way, because air would cause unwanted background scattering. Finally, a beam stop actually blocks the overwhelmingly bright unscattered primary beam, and that protects the highly sensitive area detector, which captures the faint scattered X-ray intensity. So how do we make sense of what hits that detector? We use a parameter called the scattering vector, denoted by the letter Q. You can basically think of Q as our mathematical yardstick for observing the sample. It's defined as 4 pi times the sine of theta, divided by the X-ray wavelength, lambda. The really brilliant, crucial takeaway here is this reciprocal relationship. Small atomic distances in the molecule add high-frequency terms that dominate the signal at high Q, while the large molecular distances dominate the signal at low Q. All right, Section 3. Decoding the scattering pattern, from data to structure. Okay, here's the real aha moment of SAXS data analysis. The measured scattering intensity is, technically speaking, the spherically averaged Fourier transform of the autocorrelation of the particle's electron density. I know, that sounds like a massive mouthful, but just think about the geometry for a second. Different nanoscale shapes, like solid spheres, long rods, flat disks, and dumbbells, they all produce totally unique, characteristic scattering curves. By taking our experimental scattering profile and computationally fitting it against these simulated models, we can literally mathematically decode the exact size and shape of our invisible particles. Which brings us to Section 4, structural parameters and flexibility, measuring the molecules. The sheer volume of data we can extract directly from a single SAXS scattering pattern is mind-blowing. At the lowest angles, which we call the Quinier region, we can determine the radius of gyration, or RG. That gives us the overall particle size. Then, as we move to higher angles into the Poirot region, we start to learn about porosity and surface area characteristics. We can also nail down molecular weight, overall particle shape, internal nanostructure, and even see if our sample has started to clump together or aggregate. All of this just from measuring the angle of bouncing X-rays. No way, right? Now you might be wondering, what if our molecule isn't some rigid solid but a flexible, wiggling chain? Enter the Kratky plot. By plotting the intensity multiplied by the scattering vector squared, we can actually visualize flexibility. A tightly folded, rigid, globular protein produces a very distinct bell-shaped curve with a well-defined peak. Conversely, an intrinsically disordered or natively unfolded protein presents more of a plateau or a continuous rise at those larger angles. It's just an incredibly elegant way to instantly diagnose the folding state of a biological macromolecule. Let's move to Section 5, Applications in Biomolecules and Materials. SAXS in action. SAXS is a true interdisciplinary powerhouse. In biology, we're using it to study protein folding, DNA, RNA, liposomes, drug delivery systems, and even complex virus structures. And the massive game changer here is that SAXS studies molecules in solution, under natural physiological conditions, so no complex crystallization is required. Meanwhile, over in materials science, researchers are using SAXS to characterize gold and silica nanoparticles, investigate domain sizes in polymer blends, and optimize the porous internal structures of catalysts, fuel cell components, and advanced battery materials. It's everywhere. Finally, Section 6, Advanced SAXS Techniques, the cutting edge. So to get that perfect data, SAXS does rely on our sample being relatively uniform or monodisperse. Unspecific aggregation is a real headache. To solve this, researchers developed SAXS. First, we employ size exclusion chromatography to physically isolate and separate any unspecific aggregates away from our desired perfectly monodispersed sample. We then immediately flow that pristine sample directly into the SAXS beamline. This guarantees that our computational fitting is going to be incredibly accurate. We can even use advanced methods like time-resolved in situ SAXS to literally watch chemical reactions, protein folding, and nanoparticle growth happen in real time, right before our eyes. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've traveled all the way from the fundamental physics of the electromagnetic spectrum to the real-time monitoring of advanced nanomaterials and flexible proteins in solution. With SAXS enabling us to look way past the limits of visible light, to watch macromolecules fold and advanced batteries charge right as it happens, what invisible nanoscale mystery will you decode next? Keep asking questions, keep exploring. Thank you so much for joining me, Dr. Chem, on this journey into the nanoscale.